And again, all of the three ghosts in Totoro are different from each other. Okay, now the next topic is, what are suit sprites? In the movie, they are also called Makuro Kurosuke. When it first appears in the movie, Mei kills it. When she sees one fainting and falling off the ceiling, she slaps it with her hands and takes it to her sister. But when she opens her hands, it's gone. And Mei goes, "Oh, it ran away." But that's not what happened. It's actually crushed in her hands. Although it's killed by Mei as soon as it comes out, it doesn't feel tragic. So you may wonder why. Actually, suit sprites are tsukumogami, spirits of tools. A tsukumogami is like a yokai born from human life. It's not exactly a yokai, but something similar, where tools like teacups and Japanese clocks have turned into monstrous beings after being expanded by people. They look like they have life and are yokais, which means they do not and are not. There's a document from the Muromachi period called the Book of Tsukumogami. There's a description there which says, according to the miscellaneous notes of Yin and Yang, but that book doesn't exist anymore. But accordingly, tools that have been made for 100 years possess souls, and kind of like monster cats, they deceive people's minds, and they're called Tsukumogami. They're like yokais, but they aren't. They're viruses. Now, this is a schematic diagram of bacteriophage, which you learn in high school. This is how it really looks under an electron microscope. It's a virus, and even though it looks like a living thing, it's not. It's only got an icosahedral head with DNA inside, and it sticks to cells with these legs and sends the DNA inside those cells. Then the bacteria also turns into a bacteriophage. This is a tremendously mysterious creature. Oh, not a creature since this is a virus. While bacteria are creatures, viruses are closer to machines. But I think this is what Tsukumogami really is. It's not a yokai, but a yokai virus. So Tsukumogami is a bacteriophage that haunts those modern tools like Japanese clocks, tea bowls, and so on. Suit sprites are originally just suits that turns into yokais as viruses infect them. That's how their numbers keep growing. Then they move all together all at once as a group, but each of them has no intelligence or purposes, so even if they are killed by Mei with a single clap, we don't feel tragic. That's because, after all, they're just a virus type of yokai. Well, the virus part is just my theory, but I would say that they're definitely Tsukumogami. So, the point of depicting suit sprites for Miyazaki must be, again, to send a message to Mizuki yokais, which all have personalities, purposes, and motivations, that yokais are supposed to be more diverse. And suit sprites are Miyazaki's versions of Tsukumogami. Now, we're finally moving on to the question of who Totoro is. Oh, it took so long. Now, here is Totoro. Well, this is a scene where he meets Satsuki for the first time. When the movie was first released, Totoro was announced to be 2 meters tall and 1,302 years old. But there are different theories. The most popular saying is that the primordial forest in the last scene of Princess Mononoke dies in the end, but later revives. No, there's a character called Kodama. This teeny tiny character is sitting surrounded by young trees and shaking his head. And he's the only survivor in the scene. Miyazaki later said, "This is Totoro." If this is true, because Princess Mononoke takes place around the end of the Muromachi period, which is 1400s, well, it's said to take place 100 years before the arrival of the Gons, so it should be 500 to 600 years old, like around 1450. which makes Totoro's age 500 to 600 years old, but there's a background story to this setting according to Miyazaki. A genius animator called Makiko Futaki was in charge of the scene. She was such an amazing animator. Unfortunately, she passed away, but she said to Miyazaki, "Can we say that Kodama is Totoro?" She was drawing the last scene herself, and when it came to the scene where there are only trees, she said to Miyazaki, "How about we add just one Kodama in the scene?" Then Miyazaki said, "Oh, that's a good idea, let's do that." That's how one Kodama appears in the last scene. Futaki said, "I have been working on Princess Mononoke as an animator all this time, and the current ending is too much to bear. We always end up criticizing as human beings by questioning, why do we always fail? It's too much to take. I want hope in the end, so why not add Kodama and say it's Totoro?" And Miyazaki said, "Great, let's do that." Therefore, it's not his original idea, he just accepted someone else's. So the official setting of My Neighbor Totoro says he's 1302 to 3 years old, while another theory written in various articles says that it's grown-up version of Kodama, but it's just been added afterwards. He's actually a lot older. In an interview with Miyazaki, it's written that Totoro has lived longer than 3,000 years. That's obviously way older than 1302 years old or 500 to 600 years old as the latest scene of Princess Mononoke indicates. This is something about Totoro that children don't need to know about. This kind of stuff is for adults, and children must fall asleep halfway through the story if they hear it. Once they become adults, they can appreciate it. There's a series called Ghibli's Textbook, published by Bungei Shunju, which is an official publication by Ghibli. And in one volume of the series titled The Wind Rises, a Ghibli producer Toshio Suzuki said, "Miya-san, as in Miyazaki, Miya-san had such a delusion about Totoro. Once there were many Totoro tribes in this world, they were destroyed by fighting mankind. But the survivors appeared in many different eras. Mononoke or supernatural beings in the Middle Ages, ghosts in the Edo period, and now Totoro. Totoro has such a history. It's not just a cute creature. It can also be fearful." This is such a shocking remark. Normal audience watching the movie may think that Totoro disappeared from Japan because the beautiful nature during the late 1950s to 60s has been lost from Japan. But that's not the reason. It was because they were destroyed by fighting humans, and this is the original plot of My Neighbor Totoro, which Miyazaki came up with. Then what was that fight all about? Before discussing that, let's talk about another feature of Totoro.